And I'm back for day number 2. I hope you guys are doing okay. I'm sorry I didn't get to see you all last night in person. It's been crazy. I'm coming up with a couple new ideas, actually, though, about meeting in person that I think are going to work out. So, anyway, I will get with that later. But right now, we are going to finish Dolphins at Daybreak. We are on chapter 6, and it is called Crack. So here we go. Remember, we had the big octopus that they had just seen. That's where we ended. So the octopus hugged the mini sub. Each of its 8 arms had 2 rows of suckers. The suckers stuck to the window. The mini sub stopped. The octopus stared at Jack and Annie with huge human-like eyes. "I don't think it wants to hurt us," whispered Annie. "It's just curious. I'm going to research it," said Jack. His hand shook as he flipped through the pages of the ocean book. He found a picture of an octopus and read aloud. "The octopus tends to be gentle, shy creature. Sometimes, though, through curiosity, gets the best of it, and it comes out of hiding." "Aw, see, I told you he's shy," said Annie. She yelled at the octopus. "Hi, I'm Annie. He's Jack." "Oh, brother," moaned Jack. He read further. "But the octopus has huge strength. Each of its arms or tentacles has many suckers, which act like rubber suction cups. It is nearly impossible to free an object from their grasp." "Oh, great," said Jack. "We'll never get rid of this thing." Just then, Jack felt a drop hit his arm. "Water!" He looked up at the ceiling. "Uh-oh," said Annie. A thin crack ran along the ceiling. Smaller cracks branched out from it. Water dripped from the cracks. "We found the crack," said Annie. "The octopus better let go before the whole ceiling breaks," said Jack. "Let's go, please." "Please?" Annie shouted at the octopus. The creature blinked as if trying to understand her. "Please, please, please," she shouted. "Come on, Annie," said Jack. "It doesn't care if you're polite." The octopus blinked at Jack. "Get out of here," Jack yelled at it. "Now! Beat it! Scram! Go!" The octopus shot a cloud of black liquid into the water and disappeared into the dark cloud. Its long tentacles trailed through the water. The mini sub started to rise slowly again. "You hurt his feelings," Annie said. "I don't think so." Something bothered Jack. He looked back at the ocean book. He read to himself. "The octopus squirts black ink to escape its enemies. One of its main enemies is the shark." "Oh no," said Jack. "What's wrong?" asked Annie. Jack looked out the window. The water was growing clear again. A shadowy figure moved toward the mini sub. "What is that?" whispered Annie. The fish was way bigger than the dolphin, and it had a very weird head. Jack could feel his heart nearly stop. "A hammerhead shark," he breathed. "We're really in trouble now." And so you can see that there is the octopus letting out his ink by the mini sub, and then right there is the hammerhead shark. Chapter 7. Remain calm. The shark swam behind the coral. "Where did it go?" said Annie, peering out the window. "It doesn't matter," said Sorry. I've got allergies, actually, really pretty bad. "Where did it go?" said Annie, peering out the window. "It doesn't matter," said Jack. "We have to get to the top." "More water's coming in," said Annie. "Yeah, I know. Come on, faster," Jack ordered the mini sub. Even more water's coming in," said Annie. "Lots more." Jack looked up. The water wasn't dripping now. It was spurting. A few seconds, said Jack. Suddenly, the mini sub burst out of the water. It bobbed on the waves like a cork. The ocean sparkled all around it. "Safe," shouted Annie. Jack felt the water rising around his bare feet. Not really," he said. "Oops," said Annie. The octopus must have made cracks in the bottom, too. The water was up to their ankles now. Jack looked out. He saw the reef in the distance. "The sub can make it. It doesn't look that far," he said. "Go, go, go," said Annie. She pressed one of the steering keys. Suddenly, the screen went blank. "What's happening?" said Jack. Annie pressed the key again. Then Jack pressed the other pictures. "Nothing's happening." "It's dead," said Annie. "Oh, great," said Jack. Now the water was up to their knees. "I guess we'll have to swim," said Jack. He took a deep breath. "Right," said Annie. "It's a good thing we had swimming lessons this summer." "Right," said Jack. "And it's a bad thing we just saw a shark." Jack quickly found the picture of the shark in the book. He read, "If you ever see a shark in the water, don't splash. Swim calmly away." Jack closed the book. "We better do the breaststroke," said Annie, "so we won't splash." "Yep, and stay close," said Jack. "Very close," said Annie. Her eyes were wide, but she seemed very calm. Jack took a deep breath. He tried to be calm, too. He calmly took off his glasses, He calmly put them and the book in his pack, and he calmly put his backpack on his back. Annie opened the hatch. "Be calm," said Annie. She slipped out of the mini sub. "Help," Jack said calmly. He held his nose. Then he calmly lowered himself into the ocean. And there they are, getting out of the mini sub. But what do you see right back there? Can you all see that? It's the shark. Chapter 8, Swim for Your Life. Jack moved his arms slowly. He moved his legs slowly. He gently pushed the water out of his way as he did the breaststroke. "Calm, calm," he told himself. Annie swam beside him. They headed for the reef. All was calm. Then Jack saw something out of the corner of his eyes. A dark fin was zigzagging through the water. It was heading toward them. Jack wanted to splash. He wanted to yell, but he remained calm. "I better not tell Annie," he thought. "She'll stay calmer if she doesn't know." He began to swim faster, then faster. Annie went faster too. They both swam as fast and calmly as they could. Sometimes Annie went even faster than Jack, which made him swim faster and faster. Jack was so scared that he wasn't tired at all. He was swimming for his life and for Annie's life too. He didn't look back to see if the shark was still there. He didn't want to know. He just kept his eye on the treehouse in the distance, and he kept swimming. Jack and Annie swam and swam and swam. It took forever for the treehouse to get just a little closer. Jack realized the reef was further away than he had thought. He kept swimming, but his arms and legs felt heavy. Annie was struggling too. "Float," she said, "float." Jack and Annie turned to their backs. They floated the way they had learned in swimming class. "We'll just rest for a minute," Jack said. "Then we'll keep going." But the more Jack floated, the more tired he felt. Soon he was too tired to even float. He started to sink. Then he felt something. His heart stopped. Something pushed at him on the water. It was slippery and alive. Had the hammerhead caught up with them? Jack shut his eyes and waited for the worst. He waited and waited. Finally, his eyes opened. In front of him was a shiny gray head. A dolphin's head! The dolphin pushed Jack with its nose. It made happy clicking sounds. "Hooray!" cried Annie. She looked over at her. She was clinging to the fin of another dolphin. Her dolphin was moving through the water. Jack grabbed the fin of the dolphin. Then the two dolphins swam smoothly through the water, pulling Jack and Annie toward the reef. And there they are, and the two dolphins that saved them. It's just like the front of the book. Chapter 9. Ouch. The sun shone on the ocean. It sparkled like a diamond. Jack felt safe now. His dolphin was taking good care of him. The dolphin slowed down as they neared the reef. Jack lowered his feet. He felt the bumpy coral. He let go of the dolphin's fin and stood up in the water. Annie stood too. Then she threw her arms around her dolphin and gave him a big hug. "Thank you, Sookie," she cried, and she kissed the dolphin's nose. Sookie tossed her head and clicked at Annie. "Kiss Sam now," Annie said to Jack. "You're nuts," said Jack. But Sam nuzzled Jack's head. Then he put his flippers around Jack's neck. Jack couldn't resist. He threw his arms around the dolphin and gave him a quick kiss. She nodded and made clicking sounds like laughter. Then he turned to Sookie. The two dolphins chattered to each other for a moment. They nodded at Jack and Annie and swam gracefully away. "Bye, Sookie. Bye, Sam," Annie shouted. "Thanks," Jack shouted. The dolphins leapt high into the air. Then they drove back into the water with a splash. Jack and Annie laughed. "I wish we could swim like that," said Jack. Jack and Annie watched the dolphins until they disappeared. "I miss them already," Annie said softly. "Me too," said Jack. He sat down in the shallow water. "I'm really tired," he said. Annie sat beside him. "Me too," she said. The warm water lapped around their shorts and t-shirts. Jack pulled off his pack. He took out his glasses and put them on. They were blurry with water. "Guess what?" said Annie. "What?" said Jack. "I saw the shark when we were swimming," Annie said. "But I didn't tell you. I wanted you to stay calm." Jack stared at her. "I saw it too. I just swam faster so you would swim faster. And I swam faster so you would swim faster," said Annie. "I guess we swam double fast then," Jack said. He shook his head with wonder. "What now?" said Annie. "We go home," said Jack. "But we haven't solved Morgan's riddle yet," said Annie. Jack sighed. He pulled the notebook out of his pack. It was soaked. He pulled out the ocean book. It was soaked too. "We failed," he said. "My research is all wet. We'll never be master librarians now." Jack put everything away. "Let's go," he said sadly. He stood up. Then He started across the pink reef toward the treehouse. Annie followed him. Ouch, Annie said. What's wrong? Jack looked back. I stepped on something. Annie bent down to rub her foot. What? Said Jack. A shell? Yeah, this. She picked up a large gray shell. Boy, it is rough and gray as a rock, and plain as plain can be, she whispered. They found the answer. The shell looked like a clamshell, only bigger and with more ridges. How could this ugly shell be the answer to the riddle, said Annie. What about the part that says there's great beauty in it? Wait, research, said Jack. He opened the soaked ocean book. The pages were stuck together, but he was able to turn a few. He found a picture of the gray shell. He read, divers search for oysters in deep water, but sometimes oysters wash up on reefs or beaches. Inside some oysters, you can find a pearl. The pearl's natural beauty makes it a treasure. It must have a pearl inside it, said Jack. Annie peered into the crack between the two halves of the shell. I can't see anything, she said. How does a pearl get in there anyway? Jack read aloud from the wet pages. Sometimes a grain of sand will get between the oyster's shell and its skin. This irritates the oyster, so it makes a pearly material to surround the grain of sand. In this way, over a few years, a pearl has formed. I can't tell if there's a pearl in there or not, said Annie. Maybe we should bang it against the rock, said Jack. Now that would really irritate the oyster, said Annie. Yeah. And here's Jack and Annie. They are near their treehouse looking at the oyster. Maybe we should just leave it alone, said Annie. She gently put the oyster back in the water. But how will we know if oyster is the right answer to the riddle, said Jack. Morgan said we'll know, said Annie. Come on. Jack pushed the glasses into place. Then he and Annie picked up their shoes and socks. They climbed through the window of their treehouse. Morgan's scroll was lying on the floor. It was open. Look, said Annie. She and Jack stared at the scroll. The riddle had faded away. In its place was one shimmering silver word. Oyster. Morgan's magic, whispered Annie. Jack let out a huge sigh. We got it right, he said. And here's the Pennsylvania book, said Annie. Let's go home. She opened the book. She pointed to a picture of the Frog Creek woods. I wish we could go there, she said. The wind started to blow. The treehouse started to spin. The wind blew harder and harder. Then everything was still. Absolutely still. Chapter 10. The True Pearl. Dawn light slanted into the treehouse. No time at all had passed since they'd left. Day was breaking. Jack rolled up the ancient scroll. He tucked it into the corner. He solved the first riddle, he said. 3 more to go. I don't see another scroll, said Annie. Maybe tomorrow we'll get the next riddle. That's okay, said Jack. I think I need to rest and dry out. His t-shirt and shorts were still soaked. His backpack too. Only his shoes and socks were dry. And this needs to dry out too, said Annie. She put the wet ocean book in a patch of sunlight. Then Jack and Annie climbed down the ladder. They walked through the woods through the leafy shadows and golden light. They left the woods and stared down at their street. And started down their street. You know, we should have found the answer to the riddle right away, said Jack. The oyster was on the reef all along. I know, but we wouldn't have had so much fun, said Annie. Fun, said Jack? You call being squeezed by an octopus and chased by a shark fun? Don't forget the dolphins, said Annie simply. Jack smiled. Right, he said. The dolphins made up for everything. They were fun. I guess they were the true pearl in the oyster, said Annie. Yep, said Jack. I wonder what Sam is doing right now. Sam? Annie grinned at him. You are nuts, she said. They climbed the steps and went to their house. We're back, Annie shouted. Did you get your shoes wet? Their mom called. Not one bit, Jack called. Then he and Annie slipped up the stairs to change their clothes. There they are, walking back home. Oh, and that was the end of the story. I didn't know that. That was the very end. Hey, Delaney, do me a favor. Go in Kaysen's room and get book number 10 so I can show them what we'll be reading next. Okay? So, I hope you guys like this book. Another adventure by Jack and Annie. I like this one because I like dolphins. Do you guys like dolphins? I really like dolphins. Delaney's going to get me number 10, so let's see what this is. Oh, Ghost Town at sundown. And this looks like they're in an old western town. And a ghost town just usually means that nobody is there anymore and lives there. So it's nothing really to be scared about. But anyway, that was fun and exciting. Here, where are they? They wanted to say hi. Is she in there?
No.
No. Is she in there? Leia.
Say hi.
Say hi.
Scotty.
Say hi.
Okay.
All right.